It. Well, now I would like to thank Eugene and invite my panelists onto the stage. That's Marie Bjerre, the Minister for European Affairs from Denmark, and Nana Louise Lind, the Vice President of European Government Affairs from Microsoft. Please, ladies. Well, to start us off, I have to say that I think, the fact that this is an all-woman panel is fantastic. I think, if you want to have democratic trust in AI, leave it to the women. That's just my personal... All right, on a serious note now. Marie, to start with you, in a few weeks, Denmark is going to take over the EU presidency. And for the second half of this year, now the EU has been a leader in AI regulation. We've all seen the AI Act. How do you plan on enforcing this in a responsible way, in a practical way, whilst the US is moving in a completely different direction with no regulation?
Well, just because other countries, just because US are moving in the right direction, doesn't mean that we have to change our approach, how we do it in Europe, how we stand to our values. The way we regulate AI and digitization is important in order to stand by our values. And we have to keep on that track. But of course, the new digital technologies, the new society we're looking into with better use of AI and new technologies, it can't all be about regulation. It also has to be about using the technologies, getting the potential out of the technologies. And that is something we're looking into, not just implementing regulation, not just asking for regulation, but also trying to develop the new technologies to give the foundation for these technologies to grow. We all know that we struggle with our competitiveness in Europe. We struggle with our productivity. We struggle with scaling up, especially when it comes to digital companies. And I think that is where we have to focus on giving better condition for companies investing in new digitized solutions, AI solutions, because we have to embrace those solutions in Europe and then do it with a recent regulation.
And it's a fine line. No, it's a good point. You need to balance innovation with the regulation. And I'm really interested because there has to be incentive for people to innovate and come to Europe. And, Nana Louise, with a company like Microsoft that works in both places, how do you straddle this kind of divide, being relevant and being trusted in both of the continents that you operate in?
Yes, and thank you for having me. I think in times of transatlantic volatility, it's important that Microsoft is a source of digital stabilization in Europe, and also that a company like ours are a bridge builder. We are not the US government. We don't agree on everything. Microsoft is a very principled and value-based company, and we stick to our values and our principles throughout many different governments in the US. We've been in Europe for 42 years, and it's important for us that we keep trust with governments and customers. And that's why two weeks ago, our president was in Europe to give 5 commitments to Europe, including a digital resiliency guarantee, and I'm happy to talk more about that. But trust is very important to Microsoft. We live up trust, and whoever is in the White House, it served us well to stick to our principles and values.
No, it's interesting. So Marie, you touched on this before about trying to keep Europe innovative whilst having the regulations. How can you actually, on a practical level, do that? Do you have any incentives for companies to come here? Any plans in the works?
Absolutely, and there are a lot that can be done when we're talking about our competitiveness. We are currently speeding up our preparation for the Danish EU presidency, and one of our priorities will be our competitiveness and lack of competitiveness in Europe, especially when it comes to technology, which is a field that we have to invest more in. We want to focus on how do we regulate in Europe, because I think we all heard that we are very good at regulating in Europe, not necessarily scaling up. And in some areas, we have to acknowledge that we have been regulated in a way that is too burdensome for companies. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't regulate. We have to have reasonable regulation, and we won't have trust in digital solutions if we do not have regulation. But we have to have it in a sound manner where it is possible to innovate. And right now, we see that a lot of companies struggle with too burdensome regulation. I am very happy to see that the Commission has proposed simplification of EU regulation. That is very important to follow that track. That is something we're going to push for during our presidency. Also, we will have the beginning of the negotiation of EU's next budget. We want to focus on investing more in these new digital technologies, solutions that we're going to live up in the future, to have better investment there, AI solutions, digital factories. I think that's a very important part of having a better competitiveness, and also to have our market function better. We want to have a capital market union, a better flow of investment cross borders in EU. That is also something that will enhance our competitiveness.
Definitely. And, you know, Nana Louise, you mentioned some of the commitments that Microsoft has been making to Europe. You know, I don't want to make this all about the US, but I do have to ask, you mentioned resiliency. This is something that, you know, you can explain to us a little bit more. But also, frankly, in the US, we're seeing all these tech CEOs cozying up to Trump. A lot of them were on his trip with him, you know, yesterday as he landed in Saudi Arabia. Microsoft was not there. At his inauguration, they were the front row, you know, it was all filled with tech CEOs. Microsoft was not there. Are you worried about blowback from the administration or potentially being left behind?
It's a fine line, but as I said again, you know, we stick to our principles and our values. We do get concerns from our customers around, you know, what about Microsoft's commitment to data privacy, cybersecurity? We have a big role to play in Ukraine in defending Ukraine against cyber attack. Will we continue to do that? What about if Trump or another government would pull the plug so we can't continue our services? Will you keep on investing in Europe? So those are the concerns that we decided to address with these commitments. I can mention one of the commitments, which is we will, and that's addressing the pull the plug scenario. So we'll first of all set up a European board of directors that will govern all our AI infrastructure, cloud infrastructure in Europe. It will consist of European nationals. There will be operating under national law, European law. We will, if we will have ever been asked to stop our services, we will go to court. And of course, that is a direct challenge to the government, but we've done this before. We've done this 4 or 5 times with the Obama administration, where we went to court to defend European data that we were asked to give, and we said no. We've also pulled Trump to court before, so we will do that again. And I think we will win, because we tend to win. But if we don't win, we have made a commitment to Europe that we will put our source code in a repository in Switzerland. We'll give European company the right to access that code and continue our services in Europe. So this should hopefully give a guarantee to Europe that they can count on Microsoft.
And I think it certainly helps with people's trust, you know, because the other thing, it's not all about governments, it's not all about leaders, it's about the people here. And, you know, Marie, to that question, people, especially workers, fear AI. You know, they're not necessarily seeing it as a tool that's going to be great for them. It's going to take their jobs. Do you think that democracies and even the EU's economic model is prepared for the amount of disruption AI is likely going to cause?
To a large extent, yes. We have seen dramatically swift in our industry past many years. We had the Industrial Revolution, where many feared losing jobs as well. And the fact is that we were able, none lost jobs. We just got better jobs. And I think the same will happen with the digital revolution. You might have to do something else than you do today, but it's going to be better jobs. And I think this is what we have to be more transparent about, the digital transformation, and to show the possibilities. And I am very well aware that there are lack of digital capabilities, varies from society to society, but especially elder people, vulnerable people, do not have the same digital skills than others do. And I think there is a big task there to educate in using digital tools and also making alternatives available, because otherwise we will have greater inequality in a society amongst those who are good at digitization, good at the digital tools and everything we can do, and those who are not.
Completely, and I think that, you know, from both of your perspectives, you're both in leadership positions where we need to be making sure that AI is something that can lift all boats and not just certain people. To that, I mean, starting with you, Marie, and then you, Nana Louise, like, what are you both doing respectively to ensure that that is the case, that AI is being used to lift everyone in society and not just a few?
Well, AI has great potential. I think it's actually our imagination that limits the possibilities with AI. But AI also comes with great risk. Great risk to our democracy, great risk of manipulation, that it is not used probably the right of citizens, and that is why we need sound and proper regulation in order for us to trust in these new digital solutions. And I think that is the essence of involving AI in a democracy, that we have regulation that is proper so we can trust the digital solution.
And what about you, Nana Louise? I mean, Microsoft obviously is a global company, and so what are you doing to kind of lift all boats together and improve access and AI literacy?
So first of all, I would say that I completely agree that we need guardrails, and I think with the AI Act, the DSA and so on, there's really important legislation being done. Because you are so right, you know, people will only use technology that they trust. So we need to have some guardrails. You can discuss, you know, whether it's too much or too little. I think the most important thing is that it's clear what we need to comply with, and it's simple. And, you know, I believe in the rule of law. You know, I think regulators should you know, create the law, and then the rest of us have to comply. And we're definitely a big believer of, you know, complying with regulation wherever we operate. To answer your question about inclusion and you know, making this technology available to everyone, actually, already 7 years ago, Microsoft put up some principles. Many of them are already now in the AI Act, but it was principles that we decided they should guide us when we develop and put this technology on the market. So this is about transparency, making sure that technology is safe and reliable, secure and private, and inclusive. You know, everyone should be able to use it. Also, the 1 billion people in the world who has a disability. So I think, you know, this technology should serve people, not the other way around.
And, you know, so this is a bit of a hypothetical question, but, you know, you did say there's a lot of promise that comes with AI, and it's just really our imaginations that stop it. To a certain extent, it's us, but, you know, AI is being trained to think by itself. And AI leaders like Dario Amodei has even said that a lot of AI tech company leaders don't know exactly how AI is working because it's starting to think for itself. As it gets its hands on all of our data, are you not worried about the potential risks of it getting out of hand and we won't be able to stop it?
Well, at the end of the day, you can take out the plug. I mean, I mean, we have to have good regulation of AI in order to save all these things. What data are you feeding the AI with? Because the AI is not cleverer than the data, and that is why we have this AI regulation. I am very much in favor of this AI Act, which is risk-based and ensures that if AI is used for something that is more risky, then we do have rules protecting that the data is good enough protecting it. But I do not fear that this is going out of control. That we will see something science fiction, because at the end of the day, it needs energy to run.
And well, I mean,
I more fear that we fear too much, that we actually won't use the full potential of it, because we have this talk about, oh no, this will go out of control because no one really knows how it works. It's very, very complicated, even the ones who developed it. And this leads to fear, especially fear amongst population, how to use it and then maybe not use it. But there is so great potential, and we need to use this AI to have a better future. And we can't lag behind in Europe or in the Western world, because other places in the world will use this technology, and it has to be built on the Western European democratic values.
But to that
I think, just to have one comment to a question, I think, a year or two ago, there was a lot of voice, this technology will, destroy the world. Then there was the other camp, oh, this technology will save the world. I think now we are somewhere in the middle. Now we are, now let's put this technology to work and help us, improve in areas where Europe is already strong. We are so strong in many areas. I think we talk a lot about problems, and we should definitely address the problems and the concerns, and I'm completely on board on that. But Europe has so much potential. We have a sound, profound, good values. We have strong companies in pharmaceutical, in chemicals, in machine tools, in green energy. If we infuse those industries with AI, we can be world leader. We can continue to be world leaders in this area. So I think that's a little bit more where I see the focus now.
And for sure, and there is that promise. But again, if we talk about the practicality and the reality, if AI is only as good as the data it's trained on, is the data it's being trained on representative? Are there enough women? Is it being trained on data that is relevant to us women? Is there enough data for if AI is going to be used to replace doctors in rural areas? Are they taking into account other factors such as where people live, their diet? All of those kind of the context and the nuance. Is that there at the moment? Do we need to be widening the pool or putting regulations around the kind of data that AI is being trained on?
Well, that is exactly why we need this regulation, and that why we need it to be risk-based. If we are going to use AI for health purposes, we need to make sure that the data that the AI is fed with represent both gender, represent have all the data, so we have like an equal treatment of everyone. It could be, I don't know, language, whatever makes us different as human beings, that the data is proper. And the regulation with the AI Act is exactly risk-based. If it is used for something like these purposes, there has to be rules about what kind of data are you feeding the machine with? Are they good enough?
Well, so I'm looking at the clock. We've got 2 minutes. I'm going to ask a quick question to both of you. You talk about the regulation, but it's not just regulation, it's accountability, right? And I'm very interested, Marie, because you previously served as digitization minister. And so when we talk about social media, and I was talking about this earlier, using it as an example, are there lessons learned from how we did or didn't regulate and hold those companies accountable? What can we learn in order to make sure that the tech companies now, in terms of AI, will be held accountable?
I'm not sure 2 minutes is enough to elaborate on that question. And especially with my new experience as Minister of European Affairs, I'm traveling around in Europe and see what is happening to our democracies. The backlash in some of our values, the threat to our democracy, and a lot of it has to do with social media, the misinformation, the manipulation on social media so far. There are many elections that has not been affected about it, but we see the effects, and we need this to be regulated. I think we did a good job with the DSA and the AI Act, but I don't think it's good enough. We need to pursue that we have that we use digitization with our values in mind. And an important part about a democracy is that you have information that you can trust in, that is available for everyone.
So last word to you as the clock is ticking.
5 seconds.
What is one, as a company that operates in the US, that operates in the EU as well, you know, and as a woman who uses AI as well as, you know, in your professional capacity, what is one concrete thing you would like to see being done in this space to make AI more trustworthy in the future?
I think I talked a lot about the benefits of AI, but of course there are also risks. And the one thing that worries me the most is, you know, deceptive use of AI in elections or online, or you know, sexual pictures of kids and women that are AI manipulated. And I think, and that comes to your question, I think there is only so much we can. I mean, we are not a social media platform, but our technology is also used for these purposes, and that worries me, and we take that very serious, and we are developing technical solutions to address that as much as we can. But I think one thing that's important is that we make sure that we train people in how do they, you know, discover, how can they see if it's a fake and it's not fake, what do they do if they find out, you know, how can we address, and then I think the DSA will be a good instrument also to address some of these things. And yeah, we as a company will comply with all those laws, and we also want to have a dialogue how we can help. And we trained more than 5 million people last year on, you know, this. So yeah, we are here to help wherever we can.
Well, it's certainly an interesting space, and I'm glad to have you both in it. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd now like to invite the next